From the Watergate building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
Welcome to Hotline TV, everybody. I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Amy Dudley.
According to the Los Angeles Times, John McCain's wooden movements, along with his age and appearance, are creating an impression about McCain's health that could be a liability in the presidential campaign. Amy Dudley, you are our McCain expert. Can any amount of Botox help him? It helped Teresa Hines in 2004. Well, I guess it didn't really help Teresa
I mean,
Hines.
there's a lot of Botox flying around in politics. You know,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be shunned upon.
This is something about McCain that he absolutely cannot control. Age is something out of his control, in the same way that he really can't control what happens in Iraq. I mean, he really is fighting a lot of battles that he doesn't have control over.
Well, Botox takes the form of political spin moves within the campaign, and you know, age has been experience for a while. They've been able to say, okay, he's the oldest dog in the race, but he's the most experienced, and in that way is the establishment favorite. But yeah, they need to do something quickly to show that they can't keep saying all he's done is walked the Grand Canyon up and down 3 times, because that's great. I don't know if I could do that, but
and he's got more
another
energy
mountain,
than he's got more energy than his entire staff combined, right?
He does. They can't keep up with him. That's what the Senate staff says. And you know, the LA Times had a couple different citations from Senate staff, campaign staff, saying, you know, he doesn't work out, but he's not a couch potato, and you know, he's out and about.
I'm going to go back to my original theory, which is that the thing that he should do is the way for him to rebound ultimately in the Republican primary is for him to announce that he would only serve 4 years.
We've talked about this before, yes.
And to announce before the primary that he would sort of announce who his running mate would be, sort of like, you know, a younger Republican star, the future of the party, who would of course then become the heir apparent, guaranteeing McCain's victory in the primary and his victory in November, and then the running mate's victory 4 years from now.
I think you'll see this be a common theme for him that's going to keep going, because again, I've said this before, that McCain's been vetted about as much as you can vet him, so it's either going to be new things that he does wrong, or they're going to just hang on to the age thing, because he can't get around that. So it's going to keep up. I wouldn't be surprised if people bring that up again. Bring up your idea, say, you know, run as a one-term candidate.
You got a Tim Pawlenty, you got Mark Sanford, you got a lot of sort of like younger Republican stars not running for president this year who could do so in 4 years. All right, and you know, this story just keeps getting better because he just keeps getting older.
He does, and can't wave past here.
You know, they're but for the grace of God. Go on.
Sorry, John.
Right. Amy, thanks. Amy, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, John.
All right, joining us now to talk about this week's Republican presidential debate and to discuss the reaction on the blogs is our blog editor, Con Carroll. Con, thanks for joining us.
No problem, John.
Let's watch a clip.
Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us? They attack us because we've been over there. We've been bombing Iraq for 10 years. We've been in the Middle East. I think Reagan was right. We don't understand the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics.
That's really an extraordinary statement. It's an extraordinary statement as someone who lived through the attack of September 11, that we invited the attack because we were attacking Iraq. I don't think I've ever heard that before, and I've heard some pretty absurd explanations for September 11.
All right, Con, who won in the eyes of conservative bloggers?
Well, John, I don't care what former editors of the Hotline or current editors of Hotline On Call might say. The winner of the debate on Tuesday night was Rudy Giuliani, hands down, and because
according to the blogs, or according to you?
According to the blogs, and therefore according to me.
Okay,
they tell me what to think, John.
You are in fact blogometer.
I have the chip installed, and it's all ready to go.
Why did he win? How did he win?
Well, you know, you just saw from that clip right there, that was Rudy Giuliani's Reagan in Nashua, I'm paying for this microphone moment. It's something everyone's going to look back and say, that's Rudy being tough, showing he's America's mayor. He's willing to take charge. He's willing to take on the Democrats on tough issues like terrorism safety, and he dominated the forum, completely overshadowed the other 9 people on the stage.
Okay, but are these the same bloggers who a week ago were complaining about Rudy and saying that his campaign was basically over because he had decided to embrace abortion rights?
Yes, they are, John.
Well, how did that happen? How do those people do such a dramatic, how are they sort of contradicting themselves so openly?
Well, they're not. I think pretty much everyone says, even people on call and Chuck Todd.
Okay, enough plugs for Amador and Chuck Todd. Good friends of the show. We love them both.
We love them both. Yes. He just had a much better answer. You know, before he was wishy-washy. I feel this way and that. This time had a much more firmer. We all need to decrease abortions, focus on common ground, etc. Got away from the whole federalism, judges, wishy-washy charge, and just said, look, we all want less abortions. Let's get there. And the Ramesh Ponnurus, the very pro-life people,
who?
Ramesh Ponnurus.
Yes, thank you.
At the corner, all the pro-life people said, look, this is a much better answer by Rudy. And he passed, got, a C+ as opposed to an F on the answer.
Right.
And so he was able to pass that test and then focus on his strengths, which were terrorism, safety, etc.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but do you realize the sort of like sheer ludicrousy of what you're saying? These are conservatives who disagree with what how Rudy stands on the issue of abortion rights. And yet they're willing to accept him because this time he happened to articulate his position better, as opposed to last week when he didn't. They still disagree with him. On the substance of the policy, they're still on the other side. But because he was able to package it more neatly in a soundbite, that they somehow now give him a pass? I mean, how does that work exactly?
There's no one in the field that bloggers agree with 100%. I mean, look at John McCain with torture, immigration, campaign finance reform. There's no one in the field that the bloggers are going to go to and say, oh my God, this guy's perfect. Instead, the bloggers have to look at them and say, okay, which of these is the least worst? And so when Rudy is able to frame his abortion answer in a way that doesn't irk them, doesn't satisfy them, and sounds strong and consistent, then they can overlook that and look to their strengths and what they agree with them on.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Which is why,
I'm sorry,
really,
what?
I guess you're
Before
right.
that,
I said, I guess you're right. There you go. Which is often the case with you, Con Carroll.
Thanks, John.
Why don't we just leave it there? All right.
Sounds good.
I think we probably should. Con Carroll, thank you so much for joining us on Hotline TV.
Anytime you need me, John, I'm here.
Great. All right, the Washington Times is celebrating 25 years of being America's newspaper. 3 of those years, of which I was a Washington Times employee, just in the interest of full disclosure. In any case, I'm now working at the Hotline, and I'm very happy where I am today. We at the Hotline have put together our own tribute to honor their very newsworthy accomplishments. Joining me for this, of course, Mike Memoli, Hotline staffer, and daily Washington Times reader, which is more than you can say for most of America, despite the fact that this is
it's my
America's
pleasure, not
newspaper.
theirs.
All right, we've sort of plagiarized. We've taken their little tribute insert that they included today. Balloons over the Capitol. When did they do that, or do you think that was just sort of some
Maybe a little
trickery on their part?
Photoshop? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're not really known for, stretching the truth or bending the truth or anything like that. So I think they actually must have just somehow gone up in an airplane and dumped about 1,000 balloons on top of the Capitol. Ooh, there you go.
All right, let's look. One great headline from recent weeks: laughter, best medicine in Iraq.
It's true. It's
true. We're not failing because of our capabilities or our strategy. We're just not funny enough. Something that we know.
They should be broadcasting Hotline TV. I think, frankly, in Iraq, it would make such a difference. Laughter's the best medicine everywhere you go. All right, next one. When Hillary speaks, a lady emerges.
Kind of the first of many Hillary-focused headlines that we'll see in a long time in the coming year.
Of course, we'll never actually see any story about Hillary Clinton referred to by her last name. The headline, of course, will always use her as her first name. The Times' explanation for that is, well, she's got a husband, and her husband's name is Clinton, and people get too confused, so we're just going to refer to her by her first name.
All right.
Okay, we've got another Hillary headline.
Carnival puts bite on Hillary's brother.
Ouch. What was that one about?
Anything that happens in Hillary's family will be front page news, though. No one else will care because no one cares about her brother. Right. But the Washington Times does.
Right. And they always will. Oh, this was one of my favorites. College girls go wild, drink on spring break.
That's a news headline in case any of you aren't aware of what goes on in spring break.
Right, and that was written by Cheryl Wetstein.
This is part of the Washington Times fascination with all things dealing with skin, and we also have an annual story that comes out sometime at the beginning of the summer about skin turns, to follow their emphasis on quotes. And here's one, showing off a bit of skin.
Indeed.
We learn about interns.
These are all real headlines. We're not making this stuff up. We couldn't make this stuff up. And neither could we make this stuff up. The Michael Steele sort of obsession that the Washington Times had last year during the Maryland Senate race. Of course they endorsed him, Michael Steele, for Senate on October 25th, 2006. Didn't quite put him over the finish line.
Surprisingly. Their influence in Maryland. But it didn't affect anything. Every headline, for I saw him every day for months going, no matter how far he was away in the polls from Ben Cardin, was, you know, Steele surging or Steele closing the gap or black Democrats support Steele. I don't know where they got that from, but anytime a random black Democrat supported him, it was news.
Or I don't know where they got, or they must have gotten that from the same place that the Ehrlich and Steele campaigns on Election Day had that flyer that they handed out.
When they were actually Democrats.
When they were actually Democrats supporting Steele. A tangled web of lies. This is a column by one of the Washington Times columnists, Suzanne Fields. A tangled web of lies. Someone's lying, but it's not George Bush.
Now, this is the same newspaper that also does, 2 years in a row, did a story about how despite Bush's unpopularity, the phones are ringing off the hook at the political headquarters. All these candidates want to be seen with him.
Literally ringing off the hook. I love that.
Next, we have a headline of typical Democrats. Outrage misfire. Dems, not GOP, causing pain at the gas pumps.
Yes. It's usually, I mean, generally speaking, it's usually the Democrats' fault, not the Republicans' fault. I mean, you can sort of use that as a rule of thumb when you're reading the Washington Times.
Now, whenever I feel down, I'm a registered Republican, you know. I read our good friend Donald Lambro.
Indeed, indeed. Donald Lambro, he's like the halcyon for the Republican Party. If you just read him, and if you exclusively read, if you just Google Donald Lambro and just read everything he writes, it's a much happier world as a Republican. This headline from September 14th, 2006. Brighter GOP prospects? Question mark. This was about a week or two before the Mark Foley scandal broke.
The question mark indicates its objectivity, though.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And there might have even been an analysis, little tag put on there.
And then we get this headline from today's special section, which I think sums it all up.
We'll leave you with this.
Times challenges worldview of elites. Well, elite John Mercurio.
Yes.
Do you feel challenged?
Elite Mike Memoli. I feel challenged every day of the week, and that's why I read the Washington Times. Thanks for helping Wesley Pruden reflect the good, the worthy, and the best of America. And happy 25th anniversary, Washington Times. And thanks so much for watching Hotline TV with us every day as much as we read the Times.
Good work.
This week, a former Deputy Attorney General recounted a dramatic hospital bedside confrontation between then White House counsel Alberto Gonzales and his predecessor at the Justice Department, John Ashcroft. Gonzales came under renewed pressure after James Comey's testimony. Gosh, could you just imagine what that scene must have been like in that hospital?
That must have been crazy.
I was headed home at about 8 o'clock that evening. My security detail was driving me, and I remember exactly where I was on Constitution Avenue, and got a call from Attorney General Ashcroft's Chief of Staff, David Ayers, that he had gotten a call from Mrs. Ashcroft from the hospital.
Hello, this is Deputy Attorney General James Comey. No, that's impossible. That's ridiculous. Driver, turn this car around. I need to go to George Washington University Hospital immediately.
Is it Cheney?
No, it's even worse.
Mrs. Ashcroft reported that a call had come through, and that as a result of that call, Mr. Card and Mr. Gonzales were on their way to the hospital to see Mr. Ashcroft. I got out of the car and literally ran up the stairs with my security detail. I was concerned that, given how ill I knew the Attorney General was, that there might be an effort to ask him to overrule me when he was in no condition to do that.
Mr. Attorney General, how are you feeling?
Oh, not good.
Oh, yeah, you don't look good at all. You look really bad. You look pasty. Anyway, listen. Under no circumstances are you to sign the reauthorization of the warrantless wiretapping program that Gonzo and Cardi are going to try to get you to sign, okay?
Okay.
Do you understand me?
I will not.
Okay. All right, I'm so glad to hear that. I really hope you feel better. Oh, hello.
Hello, I hope you're well. I hope you're not dying, but I'm here on business. I need you to sign this.
Dude, I just had gallbladder surgery.
Yeah, I think that might be something what it looked like.
That's how it happened.
I didn't realize that James Comey was such a good dresser.
Oh, please.
Well, just like Gonzales, we're pretty much out of time. Oh, and there's 2-minute warnings. the fabulous Catherine Lear. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, fellow Mormon Donny Osmond said he thinks it would be pretty cool to see Mitt Romney in the White House. He actually called him a real stand-up guy. Seriously, Catherine, could Romney's campaign get any hotter than that?
I don't know who's next. Rick Schroeder?
Nice.
No.
Very possible. That'd be good.
No, I agree. Okay, John, so it turns out Hillary Clinton needs to reorganize her closets. Tom Tancredo still hasn't taken down his Christmas lights.
Oh.
And Joe Biden needs to do a better job maintaining his shrubbery. If these people can't run their own houses, John, how can they hope to run the United States of America?
It's so true. If one of these slouches wins the presidency, the nation's garbage is going to pile up for 4 solid years.
Ew.
Texas Republican Congressman Ted Poe took to the House floor recently to recount a grisly story of his grandmother beheading a live chicken when he was 5 years old. Sounds like he was pretty scarred by the experience.
Wait, I'm confused. Is there a difference between Ted Poe and Ron Paul?
Congressman Barney, you go. No, you.
Congressman Barney Frank recently injured his arm on the curling machine at the gym and now has to wear a cast. Getting ripped is tough work, John, but someone's got to do it, right?
Feel the burn, Congressman, feel the burn. All right, Governor John Corzine has recorded a television ad admitting he made a mistake by not wearing his seatbelt, and he's encouraging people to buckle up. What's the deal with New Jersey governors going on TV to admit personal mistakes?
Yeah, I'm just not going to even touch that one, but thanks for the offer.
All right.
All right. All right, John, Valerie Plame's lawsuit alleging a plot to expose her was back in court this week. The defendants are Dick Cheney, Scooter Libby, Karl Rove, and Richard Armitage. Any advice for the defendants?
Don't hate the player, boys. Hate the plane. Ooh. And that's all for Hotline TV. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.